All right, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear and see me okay. My name is Ricardo Wilkins, and we're doing another of our weekly office hour live sessions. 10 a.m. every Friday is what I'm trying to keep up with, where I'll come and talk a little bit about, some new interesting stuff related to teams, but really it's an opportunity for folks to join here and to be able to ask any questions. So kind of a ask me anything session. So I'll be monitoring the Q&A, and I have one of my colleagues in here as well, monitoring as well. So we'll try to take questions as they come through. What I wanted to do, though, is to start. I want to try to start every session with just a quick, maybe 60-second overview of teams, just in case this may be your first time joining, as opposed to someone that's been joining every week. And then I'll talk about some new topics. The topics I have in mind today are just a couple tips related to putting files in Teams and using screen shares in Teams. I personally think anybody that's watching this today, you're gonna quickly be seen as like the Teams master in your group, because these tips I think are pretty cool ways of looking very efficient in your Teams usage. So I hope that they are helpful. But let's start again with a little 60-second overview of Teams, just make sure that we can all be on the same page there. Let me do one thing here. And all right. So I actually pulled up the quick start guide. If you're interested, if you just do a search on Microsoft Office quick starts, there are actually tons of quick start guides that are out there. Very useful if you're new to any of these products, but we're going to look at the Teams quick start. It has a bunch of nice things and a nice little 5-page PDF. Let's just use this to kind of go around Teams and kind of see what it is that we're looking at here. So this, you're looking at a team here. When you click on the Teams area, you have your teams listed on the side, and underneath each team are the channels, or basically the different areas that you can talk about a subject in that channel. You can manage either the team or the channel with the little 3 dots that comes when you hover over the side here. So that's how you kind of manage the team, as well as hiding or showing the team. And then the same with channels. You can hide or show channels, as well as following channels to help you with notifications. If we come over to a channel, we'll see that there's chat area here in the conversations area, where you can, post chat messages with your team. There's also a dedicated files tab for the files area, as well as the ability to add other tabs. Okay. Always remember your little face or department logo up here is where you go to change your settings. Is an important piece. You have a search box up top to search all the things in Teams. You can start private one-on-one chats with anyone in your org, not just team members, but anyone with that little button there, or come over here to the chat button on the left rail. They both will kind of do the same thing. Your activity tab is up there at the top to kind of show the running list of the notifications that you maybe have coming in. And you got some other things over here, including the calendar, where you can go to schedule new meetings, new Teams meetings as well. In a nutshell, only other thing I'd say is when you're doing chat, as you can sort of see in here, just remember to @mention when you want to really make sure a person or multiple people really see your chat posts. That's one of my biggest tips, as I get people that say, hey, I'm using Teams, where people say they see what I'm doing. Just remember to use those @mentions, frequently, to make sure people can see, what's going on. But that's the 60-second version of what Teams is. Again, do a search on Office Quick Starts if you want to see this guide. It does have some nice material on the basic stuff that you would really want to know about to get started. Okay, so hope that was helpful for a 60-second view. Let me take a look at Q&A here. Looks like my colleague Stacy is already.
Yeah, check out the question from Kate, Ricardo.
Mhm.
She's asking about Skype for Business being enabled alongside of Teams.
Mhm. Yeah, so yes, there are many ways that a organization can kind of deploy or upgrade to Teams. But yes, you're right. You can have Teams and Skype in a kind of a coexistence mode. You can have them at the same time, and so that does work. Um, if they're invited to a team, yes, they can get into that team, but they can still have Skype on the side. Hopefully, your users will eventually kind of migrate to using Teams all the time. You got all the features of Skype, and then eventually, hopefully, your org will go to a Teams only mode, especially given that Skype for Business Online, goes away next year. So, but the short answer is yes, you can have both, and it shouldn't really affect your ability to join Teams, which sounds like that's the question you were asking. Okay. So yeah, all right. So I see those Q&A questions there. So let me jump into. I wanted to again do a couple tips related to files and screenshots. Basically, ways to just make your chat experience a little nicer and more efficient, right? So I'm here in my team here, and as we know, we have the Files tab where our files are shown. How do we get files in there? We probably, it doesn't surprise us to think about the upload button here. I can simply upload there and upload any file I want. In fact, I can also, for those of us that remember that SharePoint behind the scenes is storing these files, I could hit the Open in SharePoint button. I have an upload button there. I could also drag files into this area, or even drag files into this area. So that's not new to Teams. That's typical, adding files to a kind of cloud library. Just hit the upload button. But I kind of call those silent uploads, right? Because you're uploading them, and unless somebody's made an alert on that library to kind of show when a new file is there, nobody really knows that they're there. And so then what tends to happen is you upload the file, then you come out in the chat and proceed to take 5 minutes of your day to tell everyone, hey, I've uploaded a file. You might even describe it and all of these kind of things. And that's cool. But friends don't let friends do that much work, right? So I'm gonna try to show you how you can upload a file that also lets people know that the file is there. So instead of doing it silently, it's kind of like you're doing it loudly. If you hit the upload button here in chat, I can hit upload. I can go find a file. Let's see, I made one a little bit earlier. I'm uploading it here, and I can either say nothing, or maybe I can say something. Say, check this out. Check this out. And I post the message. So I'm doing a chat message, but I'm also, this upload or this file here, when uploading to chat, is also uploading to the files area, the same way I would have done with the upload button. So now I've not only uploaded it, but also there's a visible chat post there in the conversation area. It's very clear that this new file is there, right? So I don't have to come back and do a second action to say, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. I may not even have to even describe it if the title, is descriptive enough. And then everybody is just one click away from opening that file, and doing whatever it is they need to do with it. So again, any file that's uploaded in the chat area, where does it go? It goes into the files area, the same as if you had, hit the upload button. So to me, that's a good tip. I think it just, there may be times when you want to silently upload something. You don't necessarily need everybody to know about it. But most times, especially when we're doing like one file, we probably do want, we're uploading it so that we can then proceed to tell somebody about it or collaborate with someone on it. So at this point, it's uploaded, and then I could proceed to mention someone and and say, here's the doc, or or whatever it is I want to do. So but again, all that is visible to the rest of the team. So that's I like to call that a loud upload versus a silent upload.
Ricardo, we have a question, and I'm not sure, you may get it based on who your audience is that is invited, but could you look at the most recent question from Anonymous at 1011?
Mm-hmm.
It says, how do I upload a file into ADO from Teams file store? I'm not syncing my files to my hard drive. I'm not sure I understand that question. If you need more information too, we'll get it, but.
Yeah, syncing my file, upload a file into ADO. If maybe the person can put another question, maybe talk about what they mean by ADO.
Okay, yeah, I'll watch for that.
Yeah, but to that, the other thing that question mentions, I'm not syncing my files to my hard drive. That's a nice one to talk about because that's another way to upload. If I come out here, we talk about syncing our files. If I open this up in SharePoint, you'll see that I have this sync button here. And I actually, my pro tip there is you could sync, I could sync this general channel file, but I usually go back to the root or the documents area and sync that. When I do that and I come over here to Windows Explorer, you can see here I've got Contoso, and I know it's a little small, but I've got Contoso here on the side and all the libraries that I've synced, right? So these are the same channels from the team. There's a general channel. Those are all the same files I see in Teams. And I can drag and drop a file right here into Windows Explorer that will ultimately sync over to Teams. So that's another way to get a file into the files area. Again, I would call that a silent way because no one's going to get an alert about it per se. But that's the sync piece that the person is mentioning. So yeah, there's several ways to upload. Here's the Windows Explorer way, the upload via the upload button, whether it's in Teams or SharePoint. And I would say the other way would be, sometimes people are surprised at how much the desktop version of Office knows about our cloud stuff. It's very well synced to all of those things. So let's say I had a brand new document I wanted to create here, and I wanted to save it into Teams. Saving it into Teams is really saving it into the SharePoint for that team. So if I go ahead and hit Save As, you'll see the desktop version of Word is fully aware of my OneDrive and my sites. And there's, for instance, my finance team, where maybe I temp file, I just save it here. Now I need to navigate into documents, and then these are the channels folders. So maybe I want to store it in the general channel. You can see the ones that are already there. So it fully knows about all those cloud files. And I can save it there, temp file. Again, I'm doing this all through the desktop. And now I'm in auto save mode. And in fact, I'm now in real-time co-authoring mode because now I'm working with a cloud stored file. So if somebody were to jump into this file, I'd see their little bubble head up there. But if I come back here, you'll see, where did I store that in general, I think. So I go to files, and there's my temp file right there. So somebody in the team now is able to see it, open it up, all that good stuff. So that's another place or another way to store a file silently, I guess, is by uploading it either through Windows Explorer or straight from the desktop. And of course, this will work Word, Excel, PowerPoint. All of those are fully aware of your cloud locations.
Okay, so we got some more information about the ADO request we had a few minutes ago. The user is seeking to upload a file into Azure DevOps from Teams.
Okay.
So
yeah, that one I'm not sure of. Yeah, that one I'm not sure of if that would use kind of the same techniques I'm using here. Yeah, that's a good question.
I think that one would be dependent upon the integration that we're still waiting to come to the government cloud.
Yeah, for government cloud users, we don't have that integration yet. But if you're just using Azure DevOps, kind of standalone, yeah, I can't remember the file interface for that. So, yep.
We do have an additional question that has to do, again, with that Skype to Teams kind of conversation. This user is asking, will agencies need to send a notice to other agency IT to open Teams to specific personnel before they can access? So I think really what they're getting at is the guest access and how that's managed with Teams.
So that could be two things. So one, yes, even as a standard user of Teams, yes, you do need to be enabled first. Whoever's managing the central tenant that you're a part of does need to kind of check the box to enable you for Teams if they're not kind of turning on all of your Office 365 features all at once. So yes, if you got no Teams today, you may need to get a ticket in IT to enable you, and then you'll be on for Teams. Guest access, to allow the new team that you're now in to be able to invite other guests, is also a kind of a checkbox at the tenant level. It may or may not be turned on by default. So that may be another request you have to make, is to turn on guest access to allow you as a owner of a team to invite external people in as a guest. So there's certainly a world where you have Teams but don't have guest access enabled. There's also a world where you kind of own Teams. You have the subscription, but you don't see it because the admin hasn't quite checked the box yet for you. Okay. So while the questions are still coming in, I'll do another tip here related to files. So the other scenario that tends to come up is, now that we've got files in here, what would be an easy way to kind of maybe ask the team a question about a file or get something going with a file, right? What I don't want my friends to have to do is to come in here and say, okay, I want to ask a question about this federal holidays document. So I come out and start up a chat and say, hey, everybody, you know that federal holidays document that's in there, blah, 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 blah. And then have people have to go into files and search for it to see what I'm talking about, all that good stuff. Instead, if I want to get something going with the federal holidays document, I could click on it to view it, and then I'm going to hit this start conversation button. And then I can say, hey, anyone worked on this? And I would maybe mention, I guess, maybe the general channel. That little post alone has basically, if we come back out to the posts or conversations area, that small little chat I've done has both put a thumbnail in the chat for people to easy access to, as obviously asked my question. The @mention has given out a kind of a notification blast to everyone that kind of lets them know I'm asking that question, and even gives them easy access to any previous conversations that in this case have happened with this document. So I didn't have to come here with start a new conversation and describe or tell somebody to go look in the files area. I just go to that file and just fire up a chat and just start talking, knowing that these chat messages here are all going to be able to be seen over in the general chat area. So again, that's a quick way. I mean, just a very few, 10 seconds typing instead of 2 minutes. I'm just trying to save you a couple minutes and make the whole chat experience just look a little nicer. So that's the way I like to interact with files. It's also a nice way to, let's say I'm working on this file and I'm done with my work, just saying done here, right? Is a message again out to the chat area, still with a convenient link to that document, and and that's a way of just saying done. And I could have mentioned the team. So again, if maybe somebody asked for everybody to put their feedback or put their put their part into this document, you could get a bunch of little chat messages saying done, 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 which is a lot nicer than a bunch of emails saying done, done, done. And then in the emails, you may not even remember what document they're even talking about. So it's another tip for interacting with files, just clicking on them and using that chat conversations button to make a new comment about it. Okay. So I think I talked about all of the upload pieces that I wanted to talk about. I also wanted to talk about, again, I'm in an attempt to save you a couple minutes. and save you some typing, I really recommend people start to fall in love with the screenshot, the screen capture, because if you're ever in a situation where I'm typing here, someone's asked me a question and I'm trying to describe which buttons to click in order to do whatever it is they want to do, instead of a couple paragraphs of describing how something works, sometimes a picture, as they say, is worth 1,000 words. And it's real easy to put those pictures in here. So if I want a screenshot in here, in Windows 10, which I hope everyone is on by this point, if you use your Action Center button here, in my case, it's up in the corner. It's usually for most people in the lower left corner. But one of the things down here at the bottom, and you may need to, it may be collapsed. You may need to hit expand. But this screen snip is very useful. Now, screen snips have been around for a long time in many different forms. This is the newest form and a very convenient form, really, now that's really baked in fully into Windows. But screen snip, when I click it, lets me drag a square over, any part that I want, and without doing anything else, that's right now in my clipboard to paste. But I can go ahead and click here and actually bring it up if I want to do some additional editing. So let's say I snip this, but I also want to call out a particular piece. You can see I've got things here where I can just like draw a circle around it, highlight something maybe, whatever I want to do. And of course, if you're on a surface with a Surface Pen, this is going to be even easier. And if you're on a Surface or any touchscreen device, hitting this button here means I could actually use my finger to make this circle as well. So it's really convenient. And once I've done whatever annotations I want to do here, I would hit this copy button again to put this new version into my clipboard. And then at this point, it's just Control V on your keyboard, or paste if you want. And there's my screenshot with me maybe adding some additional text there. And that could be a series of screenshots or whatever it needs to be. But again, this replaces me saying, hey, it's the finance team, and click on the general tab. I mean, again, that's maybe 30 seconds of typing, but with that quick little tip there, maybe I can save myself some typing time and maybe make it more clear to whoever I'm trying to describe it to, exactly what it is that I'm describing. So you use that Action Center and the screen snip. However, the shortcut key for all of that is, where is it? Windows key Shift S. So Windows key Shift S will also bring up this screen snip, and then I can immediately do the little square, and it's in my clipboard, Control V. So I mean, you could really do a screen snip in 5 seconds once you get the hang of the shortcuts and everything. So I find those to be really useful. I have literally just yesterday, used 3 snips with a little bit of annotation, 15 seconds worth of work that I know would have cost me probably 15 minutes if I had to explain it in a chat, in text. So again, I think, and that will help you look like a Teams master as you start throwing screenshots into your chat messages along with your message. So again, very useful, and useful more than just Teams. I mean, that's useful across the board, but just wanted you to see how easy it is to paste these into Teams chat as well. So again, Control V was how I pasted it, but Windows key Shift and S is how the shortcut for making the snip itself. So those are the tips I just wanted to give today. Again, I think when you start doing this, it'll start making you look like a Teams ninja, and hopefully help save you a couple minutes each day.
Awesome, Ricardo. Thanks. We have one last question come in that is about Zoom versus Teams. So I know this has been an interesting topic. Do you want to take a second to talk about what you know about that comparison?
Yeah, so this isn't, probably doesn't make sense to kind of dive deep into a feature comparison or anything like that. The only thing I'll say is, for our government customers that own Teams, kind of understand, your own Teams is already part of your license versus another product. I would do a quick search on the web to see some of the latest news about Zoom related to compliance or security. They've some, let's say, interesting articles there about Zoom from that perspective. Obviously, they both are for meetings, but I guess from the perspective of the question, which is better? I'm obviously biased there. I will say,
I am too. Yes.
Yeah, Teams is doing much more than just the meeting, right? When you think of the whole collective of the meeting plus the chat plus the file collaboration plus the integration of all your Office 365 apps natively, think about the bigger picture of Teams. And I won't go feature for feature. And then the person is also asking about how accessible it is, which I haven't done that comparison, but I know I do have agencies using Teams primarily because in their research, it was the most accessible tool. So they're deploying Teams like purely on its accessibility features. So again, I haven't done that comparison. I just know I have some agencies who apparently have done the research, and their analysis was Teams was the way to go. So yeah, again, on this kind of forum, I'm not gonna, do a back and forth Teams versus Zoom. I just want to call out those things as you do your research between the two.
Yeah, I think that was perfect, and it did get to the heart of their question. And we don't have any outstanding questions at the moment, and we're coming up on our 10:30 hour. So
absolutely,
good job.
Okay.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. So again, continue to use the same URL you used today to join next Friday at 10. In between sessions, that URL will show you the pre-recorded sessions. I will eventually put this session on there as well, and share it with your colleagues. We can fit 10,000 people in this party, so share it as much as you need to. So glad we were able to help, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Ricardo.